Okay, good afternoon Year 11. We're just going to go through the second demonstration now for the more intricate CAD model. And we're going to start just by looking at this shape over here. So it's a much more intricate shape that we're working with. So the first thing that I'm going to notice is that I've got a distance here of 60. I've got a height here of 28. And I've got a width here also of 60. So I'm going to start by drawing that shape there. Okay, so I've got that 60 and I've got this area here of 68. Okay, so I've got an area of 68. I've got this area of 60 that I want to add on as well, but I also need to consider the subtraction here of 8 millimeters. So I'm not going to subtract it there, but I need to subtract 8 millimeters here. So 68 plus 60 gives me 128 minus 8. So I'm going to create a rectangular prism of 120 by 60 by 28. So let's start a new sketch. Select the bottom view. So it's going to be 60 by 120, which gives me that rectangular shape there. And then by solid extrude 28. So that's the base shape that I'm going to start this drawing with. I'm then going to look at this hole here. Okay, it's got a diameter of 18 millimeters and it's in the middle but only 24 millimeters from the edge. So first thing I'm going to do here is create a new sketch. I'm going to find the midpoint here. I'm going to draw a line now that is 24 millimeters from the edge. Create a hole of 18 millimeters. And I can delete that line. And I've got this hole here that I'm going to solid extrude minus 28. And I've created that hole that you can see there. That's also represented here. Next thing I'm going to do is actually cut this hole out in the bottom and extrude that all the way through this drawing here as well. So I know that I've got 10 millimeters on either side of this drawing that I need to consider and 14 millimeters from the top that I need to consider. So I'm obviously going to be drawing on this face here, create a new sketch on that face. I want to bring that into 2D. To make it easier, I'm going to draw a line here. That's 10 millimeters. Can't even see that. Let me try that again. Draw a line from here across. That's going to be 10 millimeters. There we go. I'll draw a line all the way up now. And now what I want to do is actually drop that line down 14 millimeters. So I've got this dot here that actually tells me how high up that cut is going to go. And the last thing I'm going to do is draw another line here in 10 millimeters. So I can technically now get my rectangle tool, click from that dot to this dot. And I've got a distance here that's 10 millimeters, a distance here that's 10 millimeters, and a distance up here that's 14 millimeters. If I delete that line too, select, solid, extrude, minus extrude, so I want that to be minus 120. And I've got a hole through that whole object. Okay, and if I look at my design, I've essentially produced that bottom part there. What I want to do now is produce this section up here. Okay, So the first thing I need to look at is the diameter of this circle, which is 60 millimeters. So if it's 60 millimeters across, it's also 60 millimeters up and down, and I need to take that into consideration. I also want to take into consideration the distance from this point here, so this surface here, all the way to the midpoint of this circle, which is also 60 millimeters. So to actually do the addition for the height that I want to extrude this, I'm going to go 60 millimeters up plus 30 millimeters, because that is half of the diameter. So 60 plus 30, I'm going to extrude up 90 millimeters now. Okay, so the first thing I need to do, if this part is 60 here, I'm going to draw a 60 by 60 block on the back. So create a new sketch here. That's almost accurate, 60 by 60. Okay. And then I'm going to extrude this, solid extrude, bring that up 90 millimeters, because that is going to be now the whole height of this object. First thing I want to do now is actually round the top of this shape into that circular shape that we've got. So I'm going to click on this face, create a new sketch on that face, and bring it in 2D. Get my line tool and find the midpoint. If I find the midpoint here and bring it down 30 millimeters, that is now the part where I know the middle of my circle is going to go. Okay, so I can look at that now. I can select this, select that. Actually, I'm not going to do that yet. I'm just going to leave that drawing there. Let's go back to this drawing here. So I also know that there's a hole going through the middle of this shape, and the diameter for that hole is 32 millimeters. So I'm going to come back to this drawing, to this midpoint, use it twice. I'm going to draw another circle that's 32 millimeters in diameter. And now I'm going to select that, hold down Shift, and select these two other surfaces as well. Then I'm going to do a solid extrude, pull that all the way through. So now I've got that shape there. And the next thing I'm going to do is actually use this face to extrude that circle forward a little bit. So I'm going to click on that, create a new sketch, get the circle tool. It already tells me where the midpoint is. Bring that down 32 millimeters. Then create another sketch, another circle that is 60 millimeters. And now I can actually highlight this surface here, and I want to extrude that 8 millimeters over here. Solid extrude 8 millimeters. And now you can see that we've got that shape there. On the back, I made a mistake. We've already made the calculation for that 8 millimeter part sticking out of the back. So what I need to do actually is a subtractive method. I need to cut away the section over here that is not part of that circle. So all I'm going to do now is select that face, create a new sketch. Same as before, find the midpoint, project the circle that's too small, undo, try that again. Project the circle first at 60 millimeters to give me that line. Project the second circle that's 32 millimeters, and now you can see that I can select that if I want to extrude that. What I want to select is actually this part. So I'm going to highlight that, click on solid, extrude, go -8 to bring it in, and now I've got the essentially this part here of this object completed. What I need to consider now is this shape over here. Okay, so what do we know about it? Firstly, it's projecting 50 millimeters, okay, out from this point on the edge. Okay, it's got 12 millimeters of platform there. It's got 8 millimeters of platform in the middle, another 12 on the other side. So 12 plus 12 gives me 24. Okay, plus 8 gives me 32. and I need to find the midpoint now of this circle part. So what I'm going to do, and it's also sitting 16 millimeters off the base. So let's figure this out. So if I come into this 2D view here, let's go into 2D. Let's find the midpoint of this line. So I'm going to create a new sketch off of this line, off of this face here. So it's in 2D. Get my line tool. I'm going to find the midpoint and project it all the way down. Okay. Now I know that this platform is going to be sitting 16 millimeters off the ground. So what I want to do firstly, go back to my Fusion and actually draw a line from this point now so that it's 16 millimeters off the ground. And what that line gives me is a point here to work from. Then again, 12 plus 12 on this side plus 8 gives me 32. Half of 32 is 16. So I'm going to draw a line out this side. That's 16. And I'll draw a line out this side as well. That's 16. And now I can produce my rectangle. And my rectangle is going to be 12 millimeters high. So tab 32. And I've got this perfect rectangle. Now I'm going to delete all these other lines that I no longer need. Alright, so let's look at that in 3D again. I've got that rectangle that I've drawn there. Now I want to extrude that 50 millimeters out. Let's actually extrude it 50 millimeters, and this circle here has a diameter of 32, which gives us, so 50 gets us to halfway of that, so we are going to do 50 plus 16 to give us 66, so we're going to actually extrude 66 millimeters out. So let's go solid, extrude 66 millimeters, and we've got that shape now to work from. Now we need to create a new sketch on this face here so that we can draw this shape in, this circular shape. So the first thing I know is that this larger circle here has a diameter of 32. So if it's got a diameter of 32, I find the midpoint, projecting in 16 mil, get my circle tool, draw the first circle, 32. I'm going to draw a second circle as well of 16. Okay, now I've got this circle here, and I'm going to just project that up another 12 mil. So 12 mil here, this dimension is 24, which means I'm going up another 12 mil. Solid, extrude, add another 12 mil to that, and that works. What I can also do is highlight this surface here, so hold down shift when you're doing that, and I can rotate my drawing, hold shift down again, and highlight that as well. So I've highlighted all three of those surfaces. Now I'm going to go solid, extrude, and do a -12 extrusion on that, so I cut that hole out there. Okay. The next thing we need to do is draw out this triangular part here. Now the easiest way to do that is to draw the rectangular shape in the middle there and extrude it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to view this again in 2D. Okay, select that face, create a sketch, and the first thing we need to know is this. If I've got that as my midpoint, which it is, the distance between here and here is 8 millimeters. So when I find the midpoint, I'm going to draw a line out that way. That's 4 millimeters. Okay. And now what I can do, get my rectangle tool. I'm going to draw a rectangle that goes straight down from that point. But then I know that let me do that again. I'm going to start my rectangle from this point here, so it's not in the middle. I'm going to just make sure it hits the bottom there. So that's 60 millimeters. I'm going to extrude it out. So leave this 60, I want it to be 60 by 8. And now I know that that part is in the middle. So all I'm going to do now is solid, highlight, solid, extrude. I'm going to look at it in that 2D direction there. I'm going to extrude it till it touches the circle. So that's going to be 24 millimeters there. Press OK. And now I've got this rectangular shape. And I just want to now turn that into a triangle. So I'm going to select that, create a new sketch on that shape there. Go into the 2D again. I'm just going to zoom in as much as I can. Line it up with the circle. Zoom out. Line it up with the edge of the rectangle. Now I can highlight that. Click on solid and do a negative extrusion. And now I've got that really intricate shape that I asked you guys to make. Okay, so now I'm going to save that. File, save. We'll call this 11 DT Demo 3. Click on save, and we'll now produce the engineering drawing for this object. So design, drawing from the design. Press OK. Wait for it to load up. Now once it loads, we're going to do the same thing again. So the scale here is 1:2, which is actually a half scale. So to make it a little bit bigger, we're actually going to change that from a 1:2 to a 1 to a 1.5, which makes it a little bit larger for us to work with. Now that's our front view. We're going to leave that there. Then going to come across here again to projector view. Click on that. We've got our 3D view that we're going to leave there in the corner. We've got our side view. We've got our top view. Now we need to figure out what drawings to use where. Again, click on this, double click on that, make that a shaded drawing, and then we're going to just start dimensioning. So in this particular view here, I think something that's important to dimension is this distance here. Okay, this distance here. So they know what they're working with. Okay, and then also you would want to get one of these as well. So maybe we put that dimension on that side, bring that down. Maybe this dimension here we delete, we put on the other side over here. Just keep it out of the way of the drawing, so bring it out all the way. I wouldn't say I'm pleased with that. Let's just leave that for now, see what we can do. This drawing is really good to get the whole length of the object. I'm making mistakes now. Let's try that again. So I want to get the length, 120. I want to get the width, 80. I can use this one to get the diameter of that hole. And I'm also going to use it to get the diameter of all of these holes in this top view. That's a 16mm hole. That's a 32mm hole. Put that there. And what I should also do then is get the distance of this part here. And that will allow them to then figure out the length of this whole area here. I'll leave that for the front view. To actually clean up this drawing a little bit, what I might do, these are supposed to have hidden lines. So what I might do is actually use this drawing here to show the dimension for this circular part here, which was 16. I'll leave that there now. So if I've got that 32, then I can get rid of this one here just to tidy up. So if I delete that, now I can tidy this one up a little bit. And then I want to show the dimension for this section here. Bring that up there. Also want to show the dimension for this area here. And for this area here, because that's important to show. So I've shown all of that. What else is there to show? I will show the dimension of that smaller circle in this view. And that might be all the dimensions required for this drawing. Okay, that is our engineering drawing for this model. So you're just going to, again, output, save that. We're going to call it 11DT Demo 3. Save that as a PDF. And there you go, guys. That's our much more difficult model done as well. So hopefully you found this useful. Again, obviously I've gone through a lot of steps there. Be sure to watch the video, pause it at a step, try to replicate it yourself before you move on. Don't follow too many steps in the video and then try to replicate, 10 at a time. Pause the video, stop, go through it one step at a time and make it as effective for your learning as possible. So thanks and have a great weekend, guys.